Good morning, good morning again, folks. Actually, it looks like Paul's mom's coming a little later today, so I'm just going straight into it. I want to get these done so I can play Donkey Pong and calm myself down. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do a rant and then moving on to the disclaimers. Once again, I'm reminded, I know I say this on damn near every article, but why the hell do I keep torturing myself by looking at my feed, even if it's Facebook, before I do these vids? Okay, so what's my bitch now? Apparently there's a little hissy fit going on in regards to Amy Grant. For those of you who have not been surrounded by evangelicals the entirety of your existence, you probably have no idea who that is. She was a Christian contemporary singer and songwriter for many years. She even wrote a Christmas song some years ago called Mary Did You Know? That's being sung widely right now. So why are all these evangelicals coming to come eat their own? As if they didn't do that already. It's because apparently she has the audacity to host her niece's wedding at her farm. Now, why would evangelicals possibly ever have qualms with this? Her niece is gay, being married to another woman. And evangelicals have lost their goddamn shit. See, this is the problem here, folks. Instead of going out and living your own faith in a way that actually matters and could possibly help better this world, you instead like to tear down others. Why do you tear down others? Let's get a little psychological here for a minute. Because if you tear down others, you feel a little bit less bad about your own failings within your own faith. Can I say that again? The reason why these guys tear down others is that they maybe feel a little bit less guilty about their own failings within the confines of their own faith. If you actually read the Bible, Jesus had a little something to say about that. I'm sure you've probably all heard the verse at some point. You hypocrite, first remove the plank from your own eye, then that you might see better to remove the splinter from your, or the speck, depending on your translation, from your brother's eye. What could he possibly mean by that? Oh, it's very simple. You make sure that you are a good person, that you are doing the things that you are supposed to do. You care for the poor. You show that you care to provide for others who are in need. That you are kind to everyone to the best of your ability. You go out and you live the life, right? You work on the difficulties that you have. You see what I mean, right? Go forth, go be your best self. Work on yourself. Work on your issues. What is it that makes me, as St. Augustine put it, make sure that you yourself are not an antichrist. And what does that mean in context to the evangelicals who like to ram the antichrist down our throats? Well, Augustine, considered a father of the church, considered the antichrist anyway. When you in your own life act in a way that's in antithesis with what Jesus taught, you yourself are acting in an antichrist-like manner. So instead of trying to pin the tail on the donkey, or instead of you feeling so guilty that you feel the need to tear someone else down in order to make your house look bigger. I know that's an analogy, but you get what I'm saying. What are you doing? How are you doing? What are your issues? Are you working on those issues? Are you feeding the poor? Are you visiting the sick? Are you doing what you can to help others in need? Or are you instead too busy out there judging others? Yeah, yeah. Evangelicals have been losing followers in the droves for a long time because there's become this massive toxicity. They've gained great wealth, great power, and lost themselves in the greed and the mire. And then they have brainwashed themselves into believing that they are righteous and therefore have the right to go ahead and then turn that on others. They have forgotten. But those of us who are people watchers have not. So, what is my point here? Tearing down others, digging into their lives, and casting judgment on them instead of taking a look at your own life and actually living the faith and the teachings that you say you believe in is not a good look. Perhaps you should take out that Bible that you like to beat other people down with and actually read it for yourself instead of just believing whatever person is preaching on the pulpit tells you. What do I always tell you folks on this channel? First, think. You know what I mean? Compassion should always be first. Remember, boys and girls, Jesus didn't go to dine with the righteous. He went to dine with the prostitutes. He went to dine with the tax collectors, the thieves. And remember what he said. I came here to heal the sick. Alright, now moving on. Because that just irked me. And this is why I need to be on Twitter a whole hell of a lot less. And even Facebook, although lesser extent, because mostly that's just family and allies. In the description box, you're going to find the link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's quote-unquote behavioral modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused. So folks, you know the drill. Please read that article and don't forget to share it on all your social media. We got the other pertinent links to... We also have... Again, folks, I can't brain today. Forgive me. We also got the pertinent links to the Agape boarding school situation. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has over 21 pending civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it. These claims have been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services and include the following: rape, sodomy, sexual assault, child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and folks, that's just for starters. You got one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor who still lives on the premises with full access to the kids upon multiple substantiated claims by the Department of Social Services of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You got an attorney general who refuses point blank to do his job, and you've got a governor hyped up on the power trip. So please share all those articles. Don't forget to share and sign the change.org Shut Agape Boarding School Down petition. We got the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masemba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and we talk about dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger watching this channel, parental supervision is advised, all right? Trigger warning, we are about to descend into the mad ravings of a lunatic mind that is Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear gaslighting, victim blaming, abuse apologencia, ableism all around, and just out and out lies. And because of the section that we're reading, we're going to listen to the rantings of this doctor on a field that he has no degree in, that he has never done any clinic work on, nor has he in his life had ever any part of. Yes, I'm talking about pharmacology. So I'm going to enjoy ripping this apart, but you were warned, all right? Okay, so regarding the antipsychotic drugs, which are now increasingly being prescribed for children, psychiatrist Grace Jackson, MD, has this to say about their toxicity. I'm going to enjoy tearing this apart. With the possible exception of the chemotherapies used in treatment of cancer, it would be difficult to identify a class of medication as toxic as antipsychotics. Whether one considers the effects of dopamine antagonists upon the central nervous system or beyond, their proven harmfulness has been a tragic tragedy too often minimized or denied. Let's get started on this, shall we? What are we doing again? Fear tactics. Why? Dr. Israel is also a salesman. Shall we introduce a little bit of reality? I do like reality. All right. Why this increase, you might say? What's going on? Is Big Pharma, they're just doing it for money? No, children. Yeah. Remember, what was going on come the 90s, early 2000s? What was happening? The revision of the DSM, which was what became widely known as the DSM-4. You had diagnoses corrected, and you had ones that had never been seen before. Now, did they come out of nowhere? No, they did not. It's just individuals who have been falling through the cracks for decades were finally being correctly diagnosed for the first time. And with those diagnoses, proper medication was being introduced into their lives. Now, let me tell you why this rhetoric is dangerous by using an example out of my own life. One of my uncles is schizophrenic. He is one of those individuals on antipsychotics. Do those antipsychotics have side effects on him? Yes. Does he have weight gain? Check. But do you want to know what those drugs have provided this man? Allow me to tell you. It allowed him to live a normal, regular life without suffering from the hallucinations and the illusions that comes with his schizophrenia. From being tortured with schizophrenia and the illusions and the hallucinations that he would get, he was able to work a regular job in his own home. He was able to marry the woman that he loved and create a life with her. It has allowed him to continue to work even after her death. It has allowed him to have ordinary relationships with his siblings and with his mother. Would you like to know what would happen had someone like Dr. Israel gotten his hands on my uncle? You would have took someone with a psychiatric disorder and made him 5,000 times worse than he had ever been before. This man had a condition so bad, that he once jumped out of a freaking closed window to simply get away for something that only he could see that he believed was chasing him. Okay? It always amuses me when people like Dr. Israel and Grace Jackson will condemn pharmaceuticals. They're big pharma. They're just trying to make money out of you. My way is better. Torture is better, really, doctor? Really? What could have this school done for my uncle? Nothing, but make his life worse. Because there are some individuals without proper medication who would never be right. And in fact, living in a hellhole like that because of his diagnosis and without the proper responsible medication would have kept living in those delusions and would have kept being punished and kept being tortured because it is a condition that is beyond his control. You see what I'm saying here, right? When I try to tell you pharmacology as the whole is not the devil, this is what I'm talking about. Does Big Pharma have a hell of a lot of sins to answer for? You're damn right they do. They absolutely 100% do. However, this whole concept of throwing the baby out with the bathwater is irresponsible in its most fatal extremes. You hear what I'm saying here? Let's get into the toxicity that they are trying to throw down you. You notice how he did not quote a study. He did not quote a peer-reviewed study. A study that involved the scrutiny of many of his peers. No. One woman. He didn't tout her degree as a reason to appeal to authority, but she said so. You see what I mean? It sounds good, but if it does not hold up to any level of scrutiny, something's screwy. And again, why would he do this? Why is he railing against the drugs? Because remember, JRC is a business. They make $280,000 a year on the heads of each and every individual student every single school year. They are raking in millions of dollars off of our tortured backs year after year after year. And he's going to use whatever weapons he has in his arsenal in order to convince vulnerable, scared parents that his option is the best option. And if he has to use scare tactics and exaggerate to do so, that's what he's going to do. But let's move forward here. Speaking about the same drugs, psychiatrist Peter Breggins, MD, has to say, again, who wants to believe that he's going to quote something completely out of context? Any takers? Any takers? I will say this. Are we living in an over-medicated society? Hell yes. I can say with an absolute fucking certainty, hell yes. But it is not the extent that people like Matthew Israel want you to believe. And by the way, if we are an over-medicated society, and these are real risks, why is not half the planet dead by now? Think. Prescribing physicians cannot fully inform patients about the risks associated with neuroleptics because no one except the most self-destructive patients would knowingly take such toxic drugs. Doctors have to hide the amount of risks associated with these drugs in order to get their parents to take them. In this sense, informed consent is largely a sham in regard to antipsychotic drug administration. Lie! That's a lie. And I can tell this from personal experience because I've been tried on multiple different drugs throughout my life here. Remember, I may not look it, but I'm pushing 40. Here's the facts. My doctors, before they put me on any medication, would sit down with me and my mother and go through a lengthy, large list of possible side effects that drug could possibly have on me. And when I mean the whole list, I mean some of these visits could last over 2 hours when it had to do with changing medication. Okay? I knew that Adderall was going to make me more than likely lose dramatic amounts of weight. I knew it was going to be extremely difficult for me to put on more weight. I knew for a fact that it was going to cause me stomach problems. I knew for a fact that it would heighten my irritability. I knew for a fact that there was some possible, although extremely low, risks of some of the other things that he mentioned. Okay? After he would go over the risks, he would then explain to me and my mother what he thought that this new drug could possibly do for me in regards with the particular issues that I was having at the time. He would then leave us to weigh risks worth benefits. Okay? For him to sit there with his whole chest and quote this one doctor, again, this is not a peer-reviewed study. This is not data from a magazine. It's one fucking guy. Please put this in context here. And he wants you to believe that every doctor your kid and you have ever spoke to and ever put your kid on a medication is a liar. Takes some balls to make that kind of statement. I'll give you that, Dr. Israel. It does take some balls to make that kind of grandiose claim. But it's bullshit, folks. It is absolute bullshit. That is never, and I've been getting medicine since, God, I was 10 fucking years old. Since I was 10 years old, I've been receiving medications. And never, not fucking once, was this my experience. Can I tell you what really happens? I'm glad you asked. Doctors will go over the risks. Nervous parents are not always going to listen to all of it. For one thing, most parents are not conditioned like my mom, who's worked in the field of healthcare for years, to be able to sit there and listen while the side effects or potential side effects are being listed out. Nor do they often know to ask or to have clarified certain things. It's blind trust. I will say that. That is true. But this is why active listening is a skill, particularly if your kid's disabled, that you need to start integrating now. Many parents don't even realize anything is wrong until something has already gone to its extreme. And by then, more often than not, in these few minor cases, the damage already has been done. But what I'm not allowed Dr. Israel to do is to demonize the literal entirety of the psychiatric profession, while also demonizing pharmacology in order to present to you his batshit insane torture hell center that he calls treatment as a good and right, proper alternative. It's bullshit, folks. He wants you to live in this fantasy world. I need you to come out, smell the fucking roses, and live in reality with me here. For him to demonize the entirety of a profession that he never studied, never was a part of, takes some balls. But once again, it does not hold up to scrutiny. Quoting two people is not quoting data or studies. It's also not even stating what has been considered the consensus amongst the majority of psychiatrists in this country or any other either. He is doing two dissenters. And to make my point even more valid, once upon a time, Andrew Wakefield, too, was a doctor in the UK. This was the bastard who started the madness that became the anti-vax movement. One token guy with 1 degree does not beat peer-reviewed research. Remember that. Nor does one token guy beat the otherwise consensus of the rest of their profession. Do I believe you can't trust doctors with everything? You're damn right I do. I have complained multiple fucking times about the many sins of the medical model. But you gotta think, folks. Gotta think. Alright, folks, we're going to close out on this one. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye. I will see you last video, and then I'll do it tomorrow, and yay, done!